I'll use that code.
Right? It's like, what else do you expect to happen? That ain't mine though. That's not 100% mine. But
I'm gonna give you credit.
Thank you.
That one and the joke that I thought was really good.
Okay,
the rich man and the poor white guy and the poor black guy. I love that joke.
Which joke? About
yeah. So if you are just now joining this link, we're already warming up. Siaka in the building right now. Share the link. You know what to do. We'll give you guys a minute to share this link.
Share it.
The show is starting, and we need all of you here. It may hopefully, like, if it goes according to plan, this is gonna be love and everything. But we got the boxing ring here. We got it here.
All right, but I got wingtips. I didn't.
No, it's cool. No, it's fine. That works in my favor. Look,
good. I got your shoes.
Look, just wrestle. Just push him back.
Oh my goodness. Well, can you send me the link on
Yes.
No, but again, share this link. We got a great show for you guys. Siaka Massaquoi.
Yes.
How do you know how many cameras?
Massaquoi.
He's not ready. They just let people share the link.
Get it right. Get it right.
You're not ready. You're not ready yet. Wait till you actually. You're giving them a minute. See how they talk and run back and forth.
But like, it's funny because I'm hearing this.
A lot of people like to see it.
Just go. Siaka Massaquoi. Siaka Massaquoi.
Anyway, we out here getting it ready for y'all. Why? There we go. We here.
We here.
We like. I know. Is it still glistening?
It's glistening.
Let me tap.
I see you shining.
Am I shining?
No.
Just give me a dab. Am I greasy?
You look good.
Nah, you look good.
What you just said? I'm greasy.
I see you shining.
How you go?
You shining out here.
So
you're like, man, I like those shoes. It's not on you,
right.
you like.
Nah, you look good. You look good. You always look nice.
Whatever. I don't
want to hear it.
Anyway, listen. This show it means a lot to me. We're gonna be tackling some of my most touching topics that have been in the news today. I have Siaka Massaquoi here in the building. Give him a round of applause. Thank you for coming out, man. We appreciate it.
JD, thank you for having me. Thank you guys to see you having your own show. JD and I, we always go all the way back to college and see him have his own show. He came out here to LA to do his thing, and I'm just excited to see us doing it. You know what I mean? In any capacity, because there's a lot of us that we know that left, right? And then try something else, and it's fine. Not saying that, but like to stick with what is your passion and your heart, man.
Keep fighting. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's been a long journey. It's been a lot of
of course, man. Anybody's doing it themselves, like a lot of love.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of like self-searching, and I've always been the type of person that's like growing mentally.
Yeah.
Right?
It's only been 1 month.
I love to talk to people. I love to grow, and I love to understand things, and that's really kind of helped in my journey, and that's what brought me here, trying to share that message. So we here. How you feeling, Miss Kai? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I've been having a little bit of,
little drink.
Yeah.
Little
ginger ale. No, I've been good. We actually just did Fired Up Thursday, so shout out to our Fired Up Thursday family. Almost, and they still in the building. So we had a great show with them, and I'm really excited to have this show.
You're actually really excited?
Usually I'm a little excited.
She was suspect. She was like,
oh.
I was like, is he African? I don't like that name. It already sounds like
Actually, I am 3% Nigerian.
There you go.
I'm 50% African.
I'm
35% Native American, and the rest 55 Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian.
I did 23andMe's first commercial.
You did?
Oh yeah.
We had to pull that up.
Right.
Yeah, no. So she brought it up.
He flexed it. Hey, I'll take it.
I didn't bring it up. You know what I mean? I didn't just go, you know what? Canada dry.
Now
that you mentioned it, you're like, no one did. No one did. The cool thing about it was they picked like 6 of us or 5 of us to do a commercial, and they gave us the test. So then they wrote the commercial based around our results. Yeah.
So do you know what? Obviously, your results.
Yeah. No, and so it was like, oh, that's why I sneeze when I look at the sun, which was one of my lines. It was from my actual thing, and I had to deliver it, and it's like like
I did not believe that was a real thing that people sneeze when they look at the sun.
I didn't even know it was either.
My fiance said it about her son, and I was like, that is not real. There's no way. Like when people sneeze, like he sneezes 3 times.
When you look at the sun. Yeah, that's a real thing. Just like dry or wet wax in your ears. Dry tends to be more Asian population.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. But that's one of the things that they do push in there is learning about your history.
Yeah.
And your health. I know that they try to get you to understand like your health better, what you're more prone.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I mean that one that's interesting. We can go down the road of that. So the CEO of 23andMe was at the time going through divorce with the CFO of Google.
Right.
Now when she started, the commercial was shot in June. It started airing in August because of Google's relationship with the government. They were able to shut down 23andMe between the months of October to the end of the year. So they didn't give them a chance to do any ad revenue, basically on the busiest ad time of the year. Right?
Wow.
Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Then right after that, on January 15th, they were like, okay, we're cool now. FDA said it's cool. Because what they used was, well, they're giving you your health, health information that you could then do something like, dangerous with it for yourself. And you're like, wait a minute. That's why you're stopping them from existing, because I can find out more information about myself.
Exactly. Like that's always been the plan.
Right. And I didn't make as much money because they didn't get commercials. So part of me was also hating on because of money, and then I started finding out it was kind of part of the opening up of the game, right? And how they really play. Like, wow. It doesn't what they say to help us and nothing to do with it.
And I mean, honestly, once you step back and see it from a drone perspective, it's really actually very clear. And that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you on, is because I do agree with a lot of things you said, right? And if you guys haven't, that's why I made such a long promo. Because
don't hate me. Look, don't hate me, guys. Wait.
Like, I didn't put that in the change. You know what? I thought about like making it like just because of politics. I wanted to make people hate you, like Trump, go Trump, and just make a whole bunch of videos. Trump. Like,
I'm good. I already have the hate. That means we're doing something right.
Yeah, but obviously, like I agree with a lot of things you say, and there's really only a couple things that I have an issue with. So I made that so long so people can kind of have an idea of who you are, where you're from, and what you're about. But before we kind of get into talking about things, I want you to tell the crowd kind of about who you are, what you're about, and just a little bit about your journey.
Well, first generation American. There you go. I know that's when you brought it up earlier. I was like, oh, I can tell by a little bit of that accent.
Yeah, shout out to first generation.
Shout out to first generation. We did it.
Y'all rookies out here. Y'all don't understand how America works.
You don't get it. You don't know.
Fresh.
Right.
I grew up single mom home. My mom came. She raised myself and my little brother on her own in Chicago. Then moved us into Evanston, Illinois. We had a great childhood. Very
cool. So why Trump now?
That was so wrong.
That was like, oh shit.
That was funny. That was the funniest shit he ever did.
Anyway, so I grew up there. It was a great time. Then I was able to get a football scholarship to the University of Iowa, where JD and I met, and with a bunch of other guys. We were just having a blast. As we talked about earlier, maybe too much fun. I can't go back to the state. And I fell in love with acting. I was going to be a history teacher because I loved history and I loved children. So I was like, all right, well, I guess that's what I'm going to do, right? And then I found acting in this class, and it was, it literally, I was one of those where I was like, man, doing history. I'm like, well, history is a bunch of thick books, no pictures, except for the front cover. So like, I need something where I don't have to. The way I thought about it was I don't have to think that much. So I opened up. And I was like, oh, I like that. You want to share? See, that's that.
You're not vaccinated.
That's right. You are vaccinated.
Vaccinated.
We can still share. We can still spread. I'm not gonna watch that.
Would you mind grabbing some?
No. So then like we had, yeah, so then I opened up theater department because I was like, oh, that was fun, you know, when your requirements and you have to take it in the first year. And I was like, ha, literally how I picked the class. And my class was Black Action Theater. So I was like, yeah, I was like, this is gonna be cake. We're gonna watch like Blade 1 and 2.
Right.
Maybe Action Jackson twice. You know, I was like, this is gonna be easy, right? So I get into the class, and the night before, a buddy of mine were at this bar. And he was like, oh, I'm taking this class. And I was like, I'll take this. So we knew we were in the same class. And we're in the class, and we're chilling. And this 6'2" brother comes walking in from Harlem. He has the V-neck down to the belly button, right? And he has the earring that's like the one Michael Jordan eagle feather that's coming down to the collarbone. The necklaces, and he's got the fedora, and he just comes in, boom, drops his bag. He's like, all right, welcome to Black Action Theater. We're gonna do it here. You're gonna write, you're gonna bring up, and I'm just like, what is going on? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to do work in this class. But I was like, all right, we'll just see what happens. And then he handed us something. It was like, write a scene for yourself. We wrote the scene, and I found myself, man, this is really cool, you know, writing a scene. And then we started writing scenes for multiple people, and you pick people in the class, and pretty much cold read.
Nice.
And for the first time in my life, even from sports, from school, things that even I've excelled in, it was the first time I enjoyed the process, just as much as the final result. Yeah. And in that moment, I was like, that's when the acting worked. I was like, that is it. Yeah, that purpose.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
I had that feeling like in middle school. Like, I just enjoyed being the clown. Like,
I
actually,
think
it was in the middle school, kind of beginning in high school.
Yeah.
Because I went through the hood state. Where it was like, yo, shit, move. What y'all niggas trying to do out here? Make it move.
You're like, he's 12. Why are you talking like
that? Literally, we were like kids. But then when I actually, right before I moved to Iowa, when I got to Iowa, like I learned that I'm not that person. I love entertaining. I was a goof. And that's when I found myself. I always credit Iowa for finding myself. Because I was outside of the urban neighborhoods.
Yes.
And I could listen to other music. I could hear different things, and everybody's like, that's white people music. Don't do that, little white people do that. Like, and so, you can't.
Which is so limited.
Exactly. So it was very limited. And when I got to Iowa, I saw people like having groups and everybody, you want to hug trees? Like, come over here, man. You like to have sex with tigers? Over here.
I never went to the sex with tigers.
Right. Everybody had their little. Everybody had their own group. Right. And
you could jump the groups real easy. Right. I was unofficially part of fraternity.
Everything, with everybody. And so, but that's even one of the reasons why I feel like we have a lot of the same experiences. And are you done with your story, brother?
And then I moved to LA.
Okay. So watch out. We're not talking about Trump. We may get to it later. But I guess really the idea of why I wanted to connect with you, because we have had some of the same experiences. But I feel like in your message a lot of times it's more of an attack towards Black people. And I just wanted to ask you, like, is it an attack on Black people, or is it kind of a, because I notice it gets really confused with your political view.
Yes.
So sometimes I hear you say they, and I'm like, is he talking about Democrats or is he talking about Black people? So I guess I wanted to. All right, exactly.
You know who they is?
They live at
Yeah, exactly. So I guess for me, that's one of the disconnects from me and you, is that I feel like you do point a lot of fingers at Black people. Yes. Right? And in the same token, like, you will defend maybe white America for being controlled by the media or being influenced by the media. But then Black America is like, well, you're doing it and you're not, like, and it's like we're all being confused, right?
Well, it's twofold, right? And I feel like if it only looks like an attack, there's some parts that are missing,
right?
Because I look back at like hard lessons that you've learned in your life. I've learned everything.
Right.
A lot of times it didn't come out nice.
Right.
It didn't come out easy.
Right.
In my lifetime, what I've seen is a lack of accountability for our whole community destroying each other.
True.
Not like pushing, destroying each other.
Right.
I don't see the same level of destruction in the Jewish community.
But where do you think it comes from?
Well, it doesn't matter where it comes from at this point, because then after a while, and I have to compare this to me working with my own sobriety,
right,
my own issues.
Right.
I have the reasons why I decided to pick up the alcohol. Mm-hmm. But after a while, I have to make the decision to put the alcohol down.
Right.
With work and help, and the decisions to go, I can't live like this.
Right.
And so it's twofold of like, come on, because we're killing each other, man. Like, it's not a joke.
Right.
Like, we are stagnant in the population since joining forces in the late 60s with the extreme Democrats.
Yeah.
Since jumping up with Margaret Sanger, whose main point was to eradicate the Negro race.
Right.
At least 22 million babies. To this day, we stagnate in the population. So what was her goal? Is she achieving her goal? Yes.
Right.
But we fall for this stuff over and over. It's like, wait, like we're killing. Like, there's no more nice guys.
But I think that's where the disconnect comes in, because there's a reason for that.
Yeah, but then after a while, it's got to go. Like, we can't just keep running around and go accepting it in our schools.
We can't. So I'm saying, I feel like even as a black man in the black community, like, there's a way to reach out, like almost like reaching across the aisle, as opposed to saying shut up.
But it's two sides, right? Because it's get out of the ideology as well.
True.
So when I talk about I talk about the ideology.
Right.
And if people can release themselves from the ideology and wake up and look around and go, we're decimating ourselves.
Exactly. But how do you have that conversation? Like, if I come to a conversation with you and I started out, Uncle Tom.
Well, that's the thing. If you start out Uncle Tom,
I'm just asking. Now
I'll always talk
but
about it.
Now you're going to be a little more defensive. So I feel like all I'm saying is when you are addressing maybe Black America, it's not so much of an attack, but more of an enlightening. Right?
Well, here's the difference too. It's like it's a different conversation here than when you're talking about a topic,
right?
And you're talking general with it. You're talking in a general sense, right? Because in this process, and what I've kind of been engaging in over the last year is that I've gotten out to do this more with people on the street. I'll never forget. I went to I got a ticket to go to a Trump rally in Vegas, right in August, and we went and we had great seats, like right behind the stage. And afterwards, we're leaving. It was the first time I ever had even a MAGA hat on, ever. And so I'm like, and we go to this gas station.
That's right. He owns a MAGA hat.
I own two, and I got one of them from that rally. They gave them out, And everyone can look around and trust me, these inflation prices, you're gonna be saying MAGA too, just to make America great again. That money is gonna dry up. So I'm there and I'm walking to the gas station. I'm just kind of, man, what a great feeling. And then I had that thing hit me, right? Because there was a brother who walked out and he was like laughing with someone inside. And he gave me a look, and then I realized, oh shit, I got the hat on. Right? It was like the first time I was like, ah, and I was like, you know what? Nah. Moving, right? I was shaking on the inside. I was like, come on, so he looked at me and goes, hey, man, I hear Trump's racist, man. And I was like, all right, whatever. I was like, well, what's your point? He goes, well, who should I vote for? I go, well, what do you want? He goes, man, just like everyone, I'm just trying to make it. Right. I go, okay, well, whose policy offers more money in your pocket? And he was like, I was like, well, there you go. Right. I'll see you later. So it's like we had that one-on-one like that. And that's usually when I talk to people one-on-one, I go to, what do you want? Yeah. Because these ideologies are so caught up in like the framing of like, well, historically, and a lot of people just can't tell you, what do you want? Yeah. Right. There's a path to it.
That's what I always say. And I was talking about this earlier. I have friends in the industry that are well off, that are Black, Latino, all different types of races, and they the Trump administration was good for business, and I'll say even for myself, I'm not rich out here, but I get it because it's for a better tax bracket. Yes, it makes more sense
for everybody. That's the thing.
Yes,
you look
it
at
does
the numbers,
make sense
for everyone. It makes more sense.
And I'll say even my personal thoughts about it. I had the same ideology. Not ideology. I had the same thoughts about Trump. I was like, you know what? He's whatever. He's a clown in my book. But the administration made sense for people if they wanted, increase, right? Now, for me, where it started kind of going a little bit on the opposite end for me was when, you see the mass ideology and thought process of it. And I feel like it was more of what he represented, and this ideology of representing of how it made people accepting certain types of ways of thinking and speaking to other people.
So that whole thing is all told by most people by the same liberal media telling me that guy was bad. Yeah, that's the thing that people miss because people are like, what's making it acceptable? If you look up, and I've said and watched this, if you watch one side, all you're hearing from the one side is like right now they go, how many lies in the first 100 days? That's what they're calculating. Have you heard that at all about Joe Biden?
No.
Exactly. Yeah. They sit there and say, well, everyone's out here feeling terrible because he's this. That's all they're talking about.
Yeah, but Joe Biden didn't also come out for people's heads. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Trump made specific statements.
No. But wait. But Joe Biden told people to come up here. So sex trafficking has gone through the roof down in the southern border. Joe Biden has tossed all our businesses over to so like people are losing that. So it's a big difference.
I say fuck both of them.
I
get that. I personally say that too.
I get that, but that's
and honestly, when it came down to voting stuff, it for me it felt like, man, the less than 2 weeks. They were both
but what I'm trying to say on this,
because I honestly I want to get to this whole Trump conversation, but it's important to me that we continue on. Yeah, it's important that we continue on the black people issue as far as us, right? Because I think that's important to me in the sense of like, and not to say that you're, because you're first generation American, right? And there's a lot of past pain that you shit on by just saying, you're a victim, right? And just making people a victim instead of thinking about that they have been controlled, right?
Yes, they have been controlled. So if I'm saying stop being controlled, and they're going, oh, you're just being white,
but that's what I'm saying. But that's ignorance. I'm saying that's all ignorance. I'm just saying that like you don't approach it in the sense of like you're a victim. Right, because there are people that are mentally broken. Like through slavery, let's go after slavery. Through the centuries of oppression, there are people that were broken. Like there are black people that were broken. You couldn't even evolve correctly, and these people are broken. Right, and to say that you're a victim mentality instead of admitting that these people may have PTSD.
So you're right there. That statement has missed a big truth of what happened in history. Okay, and that's part of the lie of what we, and this is why I brought up what you said earlier, because it was a marketing campaign that we saw on TV to have people. Yeah, of course. And the same thing about the slavery, because the problems we're seeing today stems from the '64 Civil Rights Act when welfare was pushed by Owen and Howard. That's where we're seeing today. We're not seeing the results of slavery right now. We're not.
Yeah, we're not. No.
So when we talk about what we're talking about, even to bring that up, like you said, the trauma comes from ripping fathers out of the home to the point where
it's all done to a person. Though.
No,
and this person can't mentally make it through that.
But what we can do is put a spotlight on the problem.
Yes.
If your back hurts, but yet all you're doing is working your feet and saying it's my feet, you're never approaching your back. We never get better.
Let me just touch on. I'm saying I agree with that. But it's still in how you approach it. You still can't go to someone and just say like you're a victim.
No, but that's not what I say.
It's to say like,
but that's not
what your whole one of your things is victim mentality.
Victim mentality for America as a whole, and I can break down where it starts in a black community because for the most part we are used as the litmus test in the history of this country. So I don't care anymore because we're killing each other, dog.
We are.
And then my whole life I've heard, well, it sounds a little, and it sounds a little. I'm like, okay, we continue to kill each other. It's actually gone up since I've been little. After a while, when do we get over saying, oh, well, it's how we approach?
No,
how about we stop killing each other and then the approach can talk?
One thing I'll say,
it's been 40 years of my life
anyway. For me, my experience as I don't. Just putting it out there, just in case you didn't know. However,
I gotta check that 23.
Right. I mean, 50%.
I know.
However, last year, I think for me, and I will speak for myself only, and my family, because I was very much vocal in my family, it really opened my eyes to a lot of just in general things that I didn't know. And
2020, baby. 2020.
That vision, right?
Yeah.
So for me, and I spoke to a lot of my friends that are of the Black community, that are, of different age groups, different wealth groups, and all the things. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about. For me, it was like, I went to the protests, and I went to this, and I went to that, and I just felt helpless. And I'm always like, well, what can I do to better myself, right? How can I better myself? And for me, it sparked a lot of knowledge about learning about just wealth and learning about how to, the stock,
how
the world works and how I can play the game.
Right.
And I will say that I agree with you in that sense, as far as like, I'm not, maybe I have gotten or not gotten things because of the way I look. I get it. I've experienced firsthand certain things where people look at me a certain way and talk to me a certain way. Whatever, but for me, I have taken myself out of that victim mentality in that sense of like, hey, I get it. This is these are the cards that I've been dealt. Well, now how can I use them to play at my advantage? Yes. And then not only for myself, but for my children and for my children's children.
Yeah.
And
That's literally a parable in the Bible.
Yeah.
Use your gifts regardless of what the outside world tells you.
Exactly. And like, but the only thing I'm trying to explain to you, because I agree with all of that. There's nothing, but there are people who have mental issues, right? And so it's like you can't just say,
I had mental.
Stop being
But
exactly.
but
So-
you can just say though.
Yeah.
I'm only
Okay.
saying that just to play devil's advocate, but you really can't just say that.
You can, but that doesn't mean that the practice of it is that.
Okay, so let me ask you
when
this.
you went through your time, your tough times, right? It took you until like 4 years ago to kind of get out of that trap. Right?
Yeah, it was.
You have all the tools. You're educated. You do know where you're from. Like this plays a big part in how your confidence is, and you
yes,
can understand.
Because I didn't know my history. I didn't know my father's history. I didn't barely know my
you
mom.
have family members in Africa.
But
Like that's
now that's only been in this last 5 years
Yeah.
of
so you
getting
didn't
out
know
of that. Yes,
Yeah.
getting out of that. I mean, I knew my family who were here,
Yeah.
but getting out of that only allowed me to stop thinking that, oh, I'll wait until one day.
Right.
Oh, well, until one day, instead of no, how can I make it happen?
Right.
So, like even with that, it's after a while we have too much at our disposal.
Right.
It's not 1970, it's not 1980, not 1990. And on the other side, if you're saying, well, stop saying victim, the other side, that's all they're hearing.
Yeah. Because
So the
you
counter,
don't think they're using your voice as a weapon?
they can use it. They can use it if they want, but all they're hearing from the other side is hardcore one way.
True.
To go, hey, over here. It's not getting in. You know why? Because it hasn't gotten in our lifetime.
And that's why I think it's true. And that's
why you got to yell over here. Stop it! I got you.
I honestly think you are a leader. I think you have a great voice. I do think you have a message. And all I'm saying to you is,
very well.
yeah. All I'm saying to you is like, it's the question comes up.
I mean,
Who are you fighting for?
I'm fighting for it.
Because you articulate well, don't make it right.
You hear the rest of what I usually say.
Articulate well, don't make it
And
right.
everything is right. But
No.
What
What do I say about the individual? Because I always make a point to really say this. What do I usually say?
I can't quote all of that.
No, well, no, because it's part. If you're saying I'm yelling at the victim, what I say is take your agency back.
Yeah.
You are a God.
Yeah.
You are a
I
child
agree.
of God. You are powerful. Stop letting them tell you who you are.
Exactly.
So if I'm yelling you, stop being a victim, and on the back end, I'm telling you are more powerful than they're telling you.
Yeah.
I don't care if it starts off with yelling and they go, "You're gonna miss that."
But that's what I'm saying.
Then you gotta
Just
miss
say
it.
that.
One
All
thing
I'm
I'll
saying is just
say-
say
No, because it's part of. It's all part. All they're hearing on the side is LeBron James, America. Why do you hate us? Instead of saying, I married my high school sweetheart before I had our first kid. I had my career going. She's the stay-at-home mom, so she takes care of the family.
Right.
I invest my money. Do you ever hear him tweet any of that?
No.
Exactly. He tweets victim.
Right? No.
So the
he
start
gets behind whatever is in the media, which is whatever
no,
goes
but it always leads with victim. So I have to go, and a lot of people, you're not a victim. Stop it. Stop it. Because you're a child of God and you're great and you're brilliant.
But it's
One
not
thing I'll
victim
say,
mentality.
JD,
There
hold on a
are
second.
real things that are happening to people that's not like victims, right? They are
To live in that real issue is the victim side.
Go ahead.
I know, right? Quick cut, Kyle.
I'ma just pop.
See, this is the beautiful thing. This is what we wanted to do.
You know it.
We're gonna pop the slow down.
Yeah,
Huh?
he high.
Because there's a
I
lot of
won't.
directions it could go. And so all I'm trying to get through, because I'm not trying to change.
No. I hear what you're doing.
I'm just-
You're opening the
Yes,
conversation
I
as
feel
far
like
as the approach.
you could really
Because
be a biblical
There are, and again, I'll be honest. When I first hear Trump supporter, it triggers me. I'll be honest. I'm keeping it set. However, I'm also a very open human being, and I'm open to debates. I'm open to understanding and listening. So when I watch your videos, and in watching your videos, there was a lot of things that I agree with. Like I said, with the victim mentality, I agree with it in the Latin community as well. I'm a child of immigrants, and my parents are immigrants, and whatever. But my parents live in a bomb-ass house in Georgia. They have multiple real estate properties. They have houses. They don't speak the best English, but they were able to come to this country and do it and get it done. They put me through college with St. John's University, which is a private university in New York, with no student loans.
Right.
They were able to teach. My brother's in the Air Force. He's a captain in the Air Force. Thank you. Yes, shout out to my brother. And and I've been able to do my thing as well. So when I think of the American dream, yes, I get it. Now, one thing I will say, with that, one thing that I heard that you said that was very interesting was that when we're talking about the people, the shootings in Chicago, and like the lives in Chicago that are being lost.
Yes.
And the prison system.
Which I've been watching since 2010.
Right.
And when Rahm Emanuel shut down 50 schools in his first 30 days. And in 6 months, that area became a murder capital of the country.
Right.
So it came from somewhere that wasn't slavery.
Yeah.
So my question.
No. It was Rahm Emanuel, a Democrat that we keep voting for in Chicago because now it's a black lesbian.
Democrat or
So
Republican?
no. See, that's the difference.
Okay,
that's where I can't get on board because now you go Democrat or
let me
no.
finish. So Democrat, let's just say Democrat.
And then hold them.
Democrat, whatever he is, it still feels to those people in those areas like racism or something that you're doing to me as a community, right?
Okay, so why vote in that same group of people?
I'm not saying who to vote.
But-
I'm just saying those people. I'm saying that those people are there's something happening to them that they can't control through their government. Oh, they can control it.
I'm observing.
But they don't understand always how to get into these politics because they've been shut out for so long. And now
They haven't been shut out.
Well,
That's
my
the problem.
question,
They
my
haven't been
question,
shut out.
my
That's
question,
the difference.
JD,
How is them doing
Okay.
it?
my question is to you. Okay,
I ain't
we're
mad at it,
identifying
but
this,
still there's no-
this problem. Now, how do we help? How do we actively help? Because that's also where I'm at. You know,
Yeah.
as far as the black, the brown, the Asian communities. I get it. There's been generations of ignorance, generations of misinformation for whatever reason. We'll just say for whatever reason, right? Now, we are actively in a generation where we can now impart knowledge and we can create systems or create new information for people.
Exactly.
How do you propose to do that?
A friend of mine I went to high school with, we were having this conversation. He grew up in Evanston. His dad actually works for Northwestern. Like as far, but he had the mom, dad, and a white picket fence.
Mhm.
But yet he's living the mentality that has trapped a lot of people, right? Split up home, barely can see his daughter, all this stuff. But he said to me as we're going back, he goes, "What do you do?" And it hit me because that was like part of, I think, what we get stuck in is these ideological like arguments.
Mhm.
And so part of that, you're like, "What do you do?" I was like, and part of the program that I was involved in with my recovery, I was able to, before COVID hit, it was once a week going down to the juvenile detention center and talking to those kids and telling my story, like, how can you get better?
Right.
Predominantly Hispanic and black kids,
Okay.
right? I'm the only black man that would show up consistently like that in this voluntary capacity.
Right.
For people, you had white guys, old white guys that I've been told were racist.
Mhm.
Asian guys, all these different people coming to talk to kids that aren't in their, in a sense, their heritage and community.
Right.
And I'm looking around, I'm like, and I'm there consistent. I'm like, okay, I'm talking to these kids, I'm hearing where they're about and where they're coming from.
Right.
And I'll never forget this one kid. He was he's 16. He kind of reminds me of you actually, because I know, and honestly, I thought about you and Khalil.
Yeah.
Because of the personality, both he was tall,
Shout out
like
K-Hill.
K-Hill, my God. And this kid was like, he gregarious, and it was like 6 of them, they're all hanging out, and we're talking. You know how what boys are. Sometimes you gotta keep going because they'll just keep acting up.
Right.
And he's like, and I'm thinking to myself, man, when he shuts up, I'm gonna tell him, hey man, when you get out of here, you could, you should like hit me up, you be an entertainer, you had it, right?
Right.
And then he's like, he was joking, he's like, well, I ain't getting out of here. They're trying to get me for 3 cases, murder 1. I was like, what? And I'm sitting there going, and man, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, at 16, I was trying to decide what college I was going to for free.
Right.
And I'm sitting there looking at this kid who's like, I'm done, right?
Mhm.
And I said to him, and I was thinking, I was like, damn, it's hard. Like, nah, how do you talk to him? Because I don't know this.
Right.
I don't know that my life could be over because I killed, or because I've been accused of killing someone. I don't know that. And so I asked him, I go, you got any kids? He's like, yeah, I got a kid. I got a son. He goes, I love him. I was like, you love your son? He goes, yeah. And I'm sitting there, I go, don't you think that now, even if you're going to be locked up here forever, as a dad, it's your job to make sure you show them what not to do? And he just sat there. And as I remember, the one kid, Hispanic kid, was sitting there. He was drawing, like, man, you always dropping bombs. And then he comes out. And it was like a scene out of like, and I sat there.
But you see how you came in.
But I sat there, and this was after we were going back and forth. But this is after we built the rapport, right? So we're going here, and we're going back and forth. And he's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, all right. And it just hit me that in this way, like, we have to not only have the conversation, but sometimes we have to push past it, because what happens is, and I've experienced this, when you ask the initial question that is outside of the norm, when you're 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, whatever, you'll be white. That's white, like you said earlier, that's white people stuff.
Yeah.
So what happens is it gets shut down before it's even attempted as well.
Yeah.
So as we're saying, well, it's the way you approach it. Like, I'm 41.
Yeah.
That's like the assumption that there hasn't been any other approach. So it gets to the sick and tired of being sick and tired, because that's the only way I ever changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I was ever taught that like anyone decides to change is their stomach hurts enough.
Yeah.
Until that happens, nothing happens.
Yeah, but you still don't make sport of them.
I'm not making sport of them.
But
This is not sport. Well, then the person got to really look at themselves.
They do.
I'm not going to stop.
But do you know how much self awareness you have to look at yourself, right? And people have to learn that. People have to understand that. And like talking to this guy, like you have to kind of get on this level and understand, like, and you do understand it's not a trap. They're not trying to hold you down.
Yeah.
This, you have choices, right? And that's how you speak to them.
So
as opposed to like, making them feel like what they've been,
but I don't know.
Matter.
I'm not saying that. I also break down where I see it came from. Yeah. And I also break down that we don't have. And that's that little minute thing that I think we switch on is because you know how it happens, but yet you don't give them credit for actually being trapped in that mind state. And you can't just say get out of it. You have to. But I don't. Yes, and that's why. Not only am I saying what I'm saying, but I also look at my life.
Yeah.
Look what I'm doing. Look at me feeding homeless. Look at me cleaning up. Look at me going down to the juvenile detention center. Look at me starting my own nonprofit to help sex traffic victims.
True.
Look what we can do. I can say stop being a victim because you are a child of God. Because look at what I came from a hopeless drunk 5 years ago.
But it's just
right.
You know what I'm saying?
But who are you taking with you?
So it's like that. It's the father thing that has been missing from Black people since the late 60s.
It's not like
calling
them a victim is like saying like
everyone.
Are there people who made it successful that have been raped?
Yes.
So should rape be legal? Because you can get past it.
No. But that person has to acknowledge that they were in that space in order to get better.
Exactly.
It has to.
So you have to acknowledge it. Not
they know that person has to acknowledge it. It's not my job. It's not my job to acknowledge it. If they feel like shit, that's on them. Wake up. Wake up.
Do you want to help?
I do want to help. Wake up. I can't sit there and keep because when people kept saying stop crashing cars, you're a drunk. Stop going to jail, you're a drunk. And I was like, well, you don't get it. You don't get it.
Well,
my dad wasn't around. Football didn't work out. So all those things I stopped listening because I didn't want to hear because I wanted my pain to matter more than what they were saying. And then after a while, I look at it like a sport. It wasn't winning anymore. Yeah. This isn't a winning thing to sit down and go, you know what? Yeah, I understand. That's not a winning strategy. Because we've been losing my whole life at least.
I can agree.
Right? So that's why I can't play that game. And we know we're in sports and competition. I look at it from that. And they can be different.
So what I'll say is that
I get into
I can't no, I love you. I'm watching over here.
Look, we just get her walk by with the
right there.
Round 3.
Right. You want to?
So what I'm seeing here, what I'm saying is that I can relate to a degree of the confidence that you've attained from being in such a dark, low point in your life and getting yourself out of that and digging yourself out of that. And I haven't necessarily had the same struggles as you, but I struggled maybe with like a really toxic relationships and things like that. And I had my last relationship was very toxic and difficult. And the confidence that I've been able to get from getting myself not only out of that relationship, but build myself back up again to attain the confidence and be the woman that I am now, to have the self-love and say, hey, no, I will not accept anything less than the utmost, it. Right. You know what I mean? And there's this resiliency, this reluctancy to go back. And I'll say that my last relationship brought out sides of me that I never thought I would bring out. Like I keyed a dude's car. And I was saying
17? That's a 17 to 28-year-old.
Right, no, it's not. It was a
but
it brought out parts of me again that I didn't think I would ever have. And after that, like I was completely single. Like I didn't even talk to anybody. I didn't even, for a year. Because I was like, something's wrong with me. Something inside of me was off. That it would allow me to get to a place like that. Where, you meet, and I'm using relationships and, it's a little bit more lighthearted, but it's still very intense.
The same thing.
Because I have friends, women that are just like, yes, I'm in this relationship and this guy, he's cheating on me. And then you see them and in that way, I'll relate to what you're saying. Is like, I've had friends where I'm like, girl, you deserve better than this. Like, I can't sit here and empathize with you much longer because like you need to hear. You may not listen to me, and it's gonna take. You'll be tired,
like it.
Right? And you'll get tired. You'll get sick of it when you're sick of it. Like that's what a friend told me.
Exactly.
She was like, "You'll be done when you're done."
But you let people go through that.
I do let them go through it because at the end of the day, I can't stop to wait for them to maybe wake up when I'm sitting there going, I see the homeless now that in Skid Row and it's 99% black people.
Right.
That's a problem for me.
It's a definite
Right.
problem.
And I go in there. So I help by of action as well as going. I can't play that because what we have to remember, everything, JD, everything, TV, movies, music, entertainers like our sports entertainer, are all saying that you are a victim. Everyone. So if Siaka with like 8,000,
there's also people on the other side hearing media, and they're hearing people like you saying, "Don't worry about those black people; they're just being victims."
No, I didn't say don't worry. No, I never said don't worry. I never say that.
But that's what it sounds
like.
That's
what it sounds like. Listen to my words. Words matter. Get back to that. Right. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna. We have to stop placating. That's why we're in this problem. We've been placating to the lowest common denominator, and then we wonder why we're accepting bullshit.
You know what, JD? I'll say that I did think that first when I first saw the first video. I was like, oh, like, no, I'll say
you
like,
too.
I was like, oh, because I honestly, I do, and I believe that we as humans, we have a prejudice against things that are different from us. Naturally, I've been from whether it's black people, Asian people towards me, and I've seen it in my family. I'm like, oh, they have to be whatever. Right. I've accepted that that's what it is. However,
not just black people.
And so, okay, hold on. Hold your horses. I will say that, so when I first heard you, for me it's a little touchy to speak on the cops because there's a lot there. It's very late. Right. However, I will say when I did kind of like, oh, maybe this guy has something else to talk about is when I heard you speak about the prison system, and I heard you speak about the kids in Chicago and stuff like that. And why are we not focusing on those lives as well? Why are those lives not mattering as much as maybe the lives that are just?
It's like George Floyd, and that matters.
But even to go to that point, it's like there are people trying to speak out for voices, but the media doesn't pick that up.
So that's my question.
Right?
So my question is, how do we? My question is,
you can't blame black people for that. Like they're trying.
My question is, how do we?
But we can if you go. That's the only names you're gonna say. Oh, sorry. Finish the question.
No,
JD. Sorry, finish the question.
Go ahead.
I swear to God.
Go ahead.
Oh, shout out to Sean. He said, "Get him fired up in there."
Yeah. I didn't even look. Let's look at it.
Hey, mommy,
well, if we look at that comments, may I?
Yes.
Who's your target audience? Not the people who make up your audience, but what demographic are you specifically targeting with your message?
Americans. Because ultimately everything is, and that's what you're saying when you mention people don't like what's different. Okay. This is the only country in the history of the world where you can be a part of this by the idea of it. Right. That's different than anything. It doesn't mean skin color. It doesn't mean you were born here to be part of the idea. If we stay and speak on the American goal, the idea, every country has an idea. Every person has an idea that we don't ever reach because we're human beings. But if we speak to that as an American, then it's not as a black man. No, it's as an American. I can start my own business. That's what I did only 3 years ago because I finally got over my own shit on it. Because I knew as an American, these are the rights that I have, regardless on what the TV says, movie says, and we have to do that. And we have to continue by the way we live and the way we live as well. I can't sit there and add on, placate, or even hang out with that side. Because what I've seen is that side offers a losing mentality every day of the week. Okay, that's just the way I look at it.
That's the only thing that I say about that.
See now I'm here. See now I got an eye. Yeah. So when you talk about different divisive racial issues, doesn't it make that like entire kind of institution that you kind of base your message on? Doesn't that break it apart because now it's individualized?
No.
It's not about America. It's about black people.
No, but because here's the thing. It's very specific. If the idea of racism, if you even want to say institutionalized racism, what we can talk about that then he goes both sides is in Chicago. And since the late 40s, it's been run by Democrats. Yeah. If that's the institution that's in Chicago, that's the institution that's in New York, that's the institution that's in Philly, that's the institution that's in Oakland, that's the institution that's in San Francisco, that's the institution that's in LA. But no, we attack. No, but we don't. Yeah, but we don't because they have everything. And then if anyone goes, well, Dems. Oh, you think the Republicans are going to do better? I was like, we can try. It's been 60 years. You tell me when you're going to change.
I think politics are extremely important, but at the same time, I separate that from my view completely. I don't care who's starting it as much as let's just get them out.
See, but that's again, we're missing we have to target it specifically. We can't do these broad brushes. That's why we are losing.
Okay, so who
As a person,
You
we start out by our elected officials.
Exactly.
What we did, we kept voting blue so much so that now Latin Americans have moved above us as the #1 minority voting group in America because of sanctuary cities. Why? Because sanctuary cities was trying to open it up because no one wanted to be racist.
So you're saying
no one wanted to be racist. So black folk kept voting away their voting right. Okay, because we're not racist.
They don't know the difference. That's what I'm saying.
That's why they have to. But
that's why we educate them, because you have
and that's what I'm doing. But at this point, I can't sit there and just go, hey, because people are angry and people are tired.
What are you saying, JD? What are you saying?
I'm literally just saying that everything that you're saying is correct, right? But in the sense of the delivery, like you're saying, it's a political group, right, that's doing it, right? And that should be the target. But instead, you're saying black people are playing victim. Instead of saying that,
I'm not just saying that. But that's the problem. It's like that's the thing, though. I see this.
Just said,
but I saw this.
Like you call them a victim. You're not here to hold hands, right?
I'm not here to hold hands, but they're not only a victim. Stop being a victim and trusting that one dude.
Exactly.
That's not the only thing to say. But
you can't stop being a victim if you don't know that you are a victim. And you can't stop being a victim. You can't stop being a victim if you don't have. I'm sorry. You can't stop being a victim if you don't have the guidance for someone to actually guide you out of those.
So who's supposed to care about your community more than yourself?
Well, you're supposed to care about it, but
that's why.
And tell me how the education of that process looks like and what that should do, because I've been waiting to hear that my entire life.
Well, first, the education starts in the school, and that's understanding where we were.
Wait. So you're going to trust the same system that you say is institutionally racist and say, let's keep you in trust in the school, or you can pull your kids out. So there's choices there. There's choices there. We choose the lazier path. That's the truth.
But if we pull them out, who's going to teach them?
We have to teach ourselves. The same people that were there's descendants of slaves that taught Martin Luther King, that taught Malcolm X, that taught Medgar Evers, the people we revere every February, came from one generation of slaves. Exactly. And they came from slaves. But they stood up there. Let's take turns. Because it changed. It changed in '64. They killed Malcolm X. They killed.
You need to share terms with everybody.
We got a mission right
now.
Monopolizing mic time.
No, he's passion.
Because I 100% agree with what you're saying, and but I'm saying as
you can't 100% agree and just disagree.
I'm not. But that's
I know.
When you say you're a victim.
Okay, you can't 100% agree if you don't disagree.
Don't realize that they're even being controlled. And so.
No. I'm saying to Jay is like you keep saying 100% agreeing to something that you disagree about, and you can't be 100 because because it's kind of like this. And this is the whole thing or whatever, being a victim. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you have where you can be sick and tired of being tired. You know what I'm saying? That type of mentality. But if you are someone that's basically have a better way to show, just like our leaders before us that have done that or whatever, they brought you in, they educated you in, they showed you in, and those who didn't want to be a part of it was left behind. And then they had to take on whatever they had to take on. You don't need education. You don't have to be 100% articulate to know that shit. This is facts. This main facts. So the whole thing is when just like you said, my man, when they seen that you had on this hat or whatever, you felt a certain kind of way. That's initial. That's basically because who you are, where you came from, how you was raised or whatever, and it's automatic. Now you had to. Now let me finish. Now let me finish. Can I finish? So you had to bring yourself out of that. You had to make yourself for what you are and who you are and educate yourself to get yourself to a certain point. But you can't educate yourself to a certain point and not educate those up under you and bring them with you. You know what I'm saying? And that's why with your show, I think that's what you're getting at with your show is educating others as to what you basically learned coming up or whatever to take along with them, whatever the case may be. So I commend you for that. You know what I'm saying? But I can't say that when someone's a victim and just say, get yourself out of it or stop being it, you have to basically be that tool that what's the name to say something,
Again, you're saying
feel me?
as if the other side isn't a part of it. I say you're a victim and blah 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 blah.
Well, we know the other
side
side.
being
Yeah.
and blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
so it has to be
But the other side are
accomplished.
victims too. They are
No,
victims
I'm
of
saying the
trying
other
to
side
believe
of,
that,
like-
this black people can do for themselves. I don't even need to help. I don't care what they're yelling.
Well,
Cops
no.
really aren't killing people. Like, let's
Well, yeah, no, and
they're
there are,
just
and
complaining.
those don't tend to be the ones that then go out there and live in the victim mentality. That's the difference that I've seen. That's what I've seen.
That was
Well-
the black American. I'm talking about the white America.
No, I said
other
the
side.
black. No, I'm saying the black Americans that I've met that are conservative that have said things over and over that go, look, I don't play that game
Because
anymore.
that's what we want
That's-
everyone to get to.
Exactly.
I'm
And
just
so,
trying to help
but
everyone get
what I'm saying is to go, I'm an alcoholic. You're an alcoholic, homie. You got to do this, that, and the other.
Right.
That's the same thing. That's the same. That's the only way I can start going, maybe I am an alcoholic. Maybe I do need to do something different. But then to sit there and go, we're afraid of as it's actually happened. LeBron James has the most. It is because when you say, find a different way to say it, it's like, then you're afraid to hear the truth.
firm. You just don't call them a victim.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
That's what it
honestly
is.
say,
That
Jay,
is what
we
it is.
have the
We're
same
trying to-
point for the whole hour, and like, bro,
Well,
I
But we're
think-
hiding
and-
from
and-
truth
and-
does not
and-
fix the
And I'm gonna
problem.
keep it a stack. Like, you're trying to make the same point for you're not gonna change this man.
Yeah.
I don't know you like that, but hey, you seem pretty headstrong, and hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you do what you do.
Yeah.
But I don't, and so in that sense, I think we should maybe get off that topic of trying to make it softer, because you have an approach to doing things.
Right.
I have an approach to talking to people.
True.
That's that. Now moving forward, like for me, I would want to know, like what we're talking about. Again, solutions. How do we then
Right.
impact the younger generation? How do we help our communities
Right.
get out of these types of the mindset? It's all about mindset.
And it's
Right.
here's the thing. It's hard. When you have like what we miss so much, especially in the black community, when we're at 80+% without fathers in the homes, that's a big deal, man.
That's huge.
That's when we say, how do we fix that? That it starts there. It starts there. And we're not even playing on the same playing field any other community because we see those other communities are only in maybe one or two gets to the double digits, but majority of it is single digits when it comes to the fathers out of the homes.
Right.
We don't have that voice that goes, hey boy, stop acting stupid. That then you go, that's acting stupid. That now, because a lot of it goes, don't call them victims, because some of them feel. That's what Dad used to say.
Yeah.
Get your ass up, get to work, clean
Right.
the gut, and then we get up and clean, right? That being removed, right? That being ripped out of us. If we don't start to try to get back to men being back into the homes, men being back into our families,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what legislation is passed, doesn't matter what anyone feels is better. We don't have that voice in there. We don't have that stern voice. We don't have that balance. All we tend to have is initially a feminine view, which is not wrong.
Yeah.
But then if it's only
One-sided.
one-sided,
Yeah.
then that's where we get into a lot of men who are like, I went through it, and many of my friends
We're
emotionally
going
kind of
fuck
involved.
words, yeah, fuck
Right.
words.
Do we-
So-
But-
You know, so
Do
once we
you
get back
feel-
to that,
do
it's
you
like,
feel
a wrap.
like,
So, but
do you feel like
what is the solution? Like just getting back to having fathers.
But getting back to that starts to shift our like the culture and how we look at things.
Right.
Stop listening to people like LeBron James, because if all his messages, the country hates us, you're not giving me an option. You're not giving me if you're saying, don't say victim, this guy's saying victim.
Right.
And so then don't listen to me, don't listen to him. Find your own way. Bring it back to here.
Right.
Much like they did before the civil rights movement of those people. They taught each other.
Yeah.
They raised their
Right.
communities. They didn't rely on the state to make sure they told them what was right, wrong, and when was when to get back out.
Right.
That's the difference. We have gotten so reliant on the state. After we back away from the state, bring dads back in, I think the sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. That's the exactly point that I was making. That's exactly the point that I was making or whatever is it's not listening to what the society is actually, pushing out there to us or whatever, and having those those leaders, like you said, we've had before to educate us and keep going by those. But the thing is what you got fathers that are being killed,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying, which makes them a victim because they're being killed out of society or whatever, which lessens our chances of growing up with our fathers and stuff like that. Or not only that, before they were killing us off, they were always be putting us in the system to make themselves rich in the prison system. You know what I'm saying? Everything's been happening in this whole ordeal as a systematic way to keep us at a certain level. So basically, unless we have someone actually to look up to, like you said, which is not LeBron James or none like that, because they are already up there. They got their man. They whatever. You know what I'm saying? So they can say what they say. You know what I'm saying? We can't look at it to that because you got to look at the proof. You got to look at what it is that you do to bring me up. You know what I mean?
Well,
that type of thing. So
like everything you say, right?
Mhm.
It's one of those points where what I always feel is missing in a lot of these conversations. Every single thing he just said.
Mhm.
we can look back to when that went to steroids and when that really started to affect.
Mhm.
And then we can look at the fact that everything he just said, we voted for it worse. We
Mhm.
continue to vote for it since 1965.
They voted off.
90% of black people vote for the Democrat Party since 1965, and things have gotten worse.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we want to ask questions to them locking us up, you remember when they changed?
But
Wait,
I'm talking about the people that this affects aren't really voting like they should.
wait. Yes, but the 90% of black people continue to vote for our demise.
Right.
So that's what we're living.
Yeah.
Because we're tricked into thinking that Democrats is good, Republicans are bad, or whatever. We're tricked into thinking that mentality.
And that's why I say, get your agency back. Because
Yeah.
your eyes tell you the truth. Right?
Okay.
Your eyes tell you that, guess what, Rahm Emanuel, I don't care if he was with Barack Obama, his policies suck for Chicago.
Right.
Guess what, that black lesbian right now in Chicago is not for you because she told the cops, my friends, to back down when they were destroying the south side and the west side of Chicago, and 173 black people, and then 1/3 of them are kids dying in 3 months last summer, and everyone goes, oh, well, the real victims are us killing ourselves because those 9 black guys that lost their lives to cops in 2019, that's not the same swath of the 80+% that will happen amongst us that the 24 people shot last weekend in Chicago. That's a mass shooting that they never say. You never noticed that? The shootings in Chicago in parks, it's never called that a mass
You
shooting.
make it like these political parties are controlling that, but these aren't people saying that this is happening, and these things are really happening, and that voice is what LeBron James will get behind, and LeBron James.
The political parties
not
never bring
everyone
up.
does, but not everyone does their research.
But
So
the
yes,
political
there are
party-
people jumping on bandwagons that aren't really good causes, but they are jumping on it because this stuff is really happening.
Well, the consistency from the parties is what you look at. One is an ideology. One says all my problems is because I'm black.
Yeah.
One doesn't say the problem is, hey, maybe it's because I didn't learn about shit in school that I should have. Maybe it's because I got a girl pregnant before I got a career. Maybe, but to say all of that could be a fact. No, it's because it's black in America and systematic racism.
Like, let's say the parties are the problem. Like we're not,
And that's
we're
fine.
agreeing on that. Like,
And that's fine, but that's not
So-
what it's saying for so many of us that we then turn back around and continue to.
So
it's
you
like
say
Stockholm
that.
syndrome.
So you say
I
that.
do. I say it all the time, bro. Go through my videos, my guy.
Yeah.
So I say it so much. This is
That's-
like something
But
that's.
that's what I'm saying. And I know, but it's all caught up in political parties and political positions. It's
Not
not
all.
like let's just solve the problem. Like
Yes,
like
and
you
that's
said,
the
like
thing.
let's just solve the problem. That's all I'm saying is like if what you're saying is correct. That's why I say I agree with you 100%. It's more the delivery of it and who you are alienating, right? So if that's the problem, how do we just solve? Let's just solve the problem.
When I have conversations with people over my lifetime, and I go, yeah, but we're shooting ourselves. I go, oh yeah, but that's different.
No, I never.
We're no,
We
right.
are shooting
And so when we're doing that at an 8% clip,
Mhm.
that is more detrimental to the black community than cops killing.
because
That is a fact. That is just a fact of life,
is,
right?
But
So when I say it to a group of people, or I say it to some group of black folks, and they go, oh well, and they don't even want to talk about it.
It's because they don't understand. Like,
Well,
so listen.
But
let me
okay, so
explain
you
it.
tell me then
Let me
how
explain it to you. Let me explain.
Right.
Let me explain.
Please, you tell me
No,
now.
but let me explain it to you in this way, right? Like, just like people fill in the blanks, like, right? People know the looks that you felt when you had the hat on, right? People look at you, you know the looks, you know racism, you've seen racism. I've grown up with racism. I've seen it before I even knew what it was. I've seen my family go through it. My dad had to walk to school in the bushes because the people would drive and hit him with
Yeah,
cars
that was also in the
for
60s.
being black, right? And it was 60s, but all of that came with me through stories, right? And so it builds this kind of this fear, this reservation in the person that you are, right? And I think, to be honest, to get past that, it's also just educating each other, and it's being there for each other and building each other up, not making you feel so much like you're wrong, but like just the way you're looking at it may be a little different.
You know what I've noticed again in the past year that for me has educated me a lot is this idea of putting back into our community.
Yes,
Spending
exactly.
money into our community.
Yes.
You know, I was just talking about an event I did at Lamar Park over the weekend, and to be able to do an event at Lamar Park is a market. It's a predominantly black community, and I was at this store that is a black-owned store, and they have black-owned designers. And I think because I'm always like, well, how can I as an individual make a change? And if that's something small where I can affect the economy, my own personal economy by purchasing from my black-owned, black and brown-owned business, LGBTQ women-owned businesses, just to kind of level out the playing field a little bit, you know, and start putting.
Well, not only that, Kai.
I mean, so just just spreading it out.
But not only that, Kai, is the same as I was saying, is that the fact that you have learned that and you basically do those things,
But I didn't
you
know
actually,
that.
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
But now that you
that.
know it, I'm saying, but now that you know it, you also are a voice for it to actually,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying,
You know
to
how
start
we
doing
do
it
on the
as
show.
well. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
how we do on the show, you know, we try to support, and again, that's something that I didn't learn growing up. That's something that I didn't necessarily think to do, and I think that I'll say that's something that has a positive that has come out of this last year, which is so crazy on many aspects, is this acknowledgement and this knowledge of like, hey, well, how can I immediately affect the community? Well, I can, with my $1, I can, instead of buying from a big corporation, I can put it into back into the community and start building up the community little by little.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So
There
I
you go.
think,
And that's something I've been saying since for the last year.
And
So it's like it's not something. It's not something. It's not, and we have
I
to.
do have a
But
question.
to hold on to the real one that you have.
Go ahead.
But to hold on to like everything that's said to go, that's the thing that will stop everyone from going forward. That's the loss as well, man.
Yeah.
Because like I had to be an adult and hear things that I didn't like.
Yeah.
If we are so worried about this whole thing killing us and blah blah blah, it's like stop signing up with people that are allowing our girls to kill their babies. We have 51% of the black community are females. 24% have abortions every year. We don't value our own life. From the smallest place, that's just a fact.
Even
is that wrong to
when
say?
you say that,
wow.
It's not that it's wrong, but it's correct.
And
right?
that's and we have it has to be hard because people don't pay attention to that.
But
They don't.
But all I'm
That's
saying is,
historical.
how do they do that? How do they not stop them? How do they
stop? Number one, you can remove your kids out of the high schools that just put 50 Planned Parenthood here in LA
and go where?
and figure it out. We have to. There's options. You know, the homeschooling. Okay, I'll give you an example. Right now, you can Google homeschooling, and the criteria on there is usually about 3 to 4 hours of work a day. If the parent and the student be a parent, that's our job. That's the only thing we're here to do on the planet.
I mean,
You gotta
I don't want
figure-
to make excuses.
No,
because
but
I'm
we
all
gotta-
about figure it out.
Yeah, but
I'm
we
all
have
about
to
that.
because what is the other option? Put your kid in a school that only tells them that doesn't tell them about finances.
Right.
That doesn't discipline them. So if you are a single mom and you have a young son in the school, there's no discipline.
Right.
Now in the sports, they take away achievement for work. So there's no reason to really do anything.
Right.
That's where you're sending your kids to.
Right.
Or work a little harder for this. Children are the only national treasure here.
It's not.
We
A
have
lot of
to.
people aren't qualified to teach their kids. To raise them.
Neither are the schools.
Right.
Neither are the schools, man. If you don't teach you about credit in these schools, those schools suck. I'm sorry. That's how the world works, but yet they don't want to talk about that.
Has it been hard for you to date?
Well, I mean, I was gonna say it's never really been hard. No, it shifts, right? Because what I looked at was then you start to think of what you look for, right? What you want, and so then a lot of the people, like I look back, the last girlfriend I had, we broke up during COVID. We were there for 3 years. I thought I was going to marry her, and it was a overseas relationship too. I was like, I'm in it. This is it, right? And then we broke up, and then as I've been more and more getting into this, and actually feeling a self of masculinity and manhood that I never understood because I am standing on my own belief, my own truth that stems from my relationship with God. That matches with some of certain political parties and certain views, but this comes from, to me, here in the Bible. That's it, right? And I look back at the women that I dated, and I'm like, damn, I'm the person I am now, I'm not attracted to this. So then I have to look back at me. I'm like, man, why would I pick those women? I was like, well, overseas because I didn't have to put in as much work. I didn't have to show up. Hey, and that was a hard truth I had to realize. I loved her to death, but then I was truly like immature of what I really wanted to do in order to like be there, show up for stuff.
Because it's all the programming.
Right.
This is what I'm supposed to do.
I'm
I'm supposed to be a player. I'm supposed to have all these hoes.
But not even that. It's just I was lazy. But then it's easy.
Good morning text.
Yeah, hey baby, good luck at work, and then I'm like, I'm out. So I don't have to even do anything. So then and then I looked at the one before, and it was like I was chasing this thing because of women that sometimes too were, and I don't. It sounds weird, but like maybe just weren't as the same match because it was safer. Because I didn't want to take a chance. Because I didn't want a woman that was going to actually hold my feet to the fire. I didn't want a woman that was going to be like, stop being lazy. I didn't want a woman that was going to do that. Ultimately, I didn't know that, right? Until after you grow and you realize these relationships don't work, and why do we want to kill each other at the end of it, right? And so you start to do this work where you look at it, it's like, all right, well, now, like, if I'm going to set my standard at a certain place, I have to be ready for that standard to show up. and then I have to rewrite it, which keeps you going. It brings me to the Jordan Peterson thing about like what you learned when you went through it, and saying like, oh well, a lot of people we don't know, right? So the society has taken away so much of the even the manufactured achievement, right? Junior sports, right? Take sports for example. Right. Everyone gets a trophy, and they started that about 15 years ago. Right. So the little kid who scores that goal, and that goal leads to the team winning and getting that trophy. That's a little win in here, and it knows what it feels like to work hard and see the results. That's gone now. Right. That's gone.
I have a question. Can I ask a question real quick?
Right. No, that's everywhere. That's in Europe.
Got a question?
Yes.
I have a question. So what would you say?
Yes.
It's God. It's
Man,
God.
I knew it. I knew it was a young Morgan Freeman.
It's a young Morgan
First of all, I
Freeman.
knew it was a brother. It all started in Africa.
Right. No, so I mean, what would you say to the fact that and to those that believe that we are set up to fail as far as black heritage? And the reason I say this is because I've seen it, I've experienced it for a fact. Where no one, yes, it's no media. It's nothing to do with the media. It has to do with our president. It has to do with the political parties, both parties, not just one. It's just it's all of them, because all of them is about money, right? And my experience was me as a black-owned business. Was trying to get the whole PPP loan and all that good stuff or whatever. Now they had the time to educate us and put enough money in the pot for us to actually get these loans. A whole 8-9 months went by before they even educated us as to what it is that we needed to do to actually, I'm talking about webinars. They didn't do the webinars until like 9 to 12 months later to educate us on what we need to do to end up, to put in the right language or the right steps or whatever, you know what I'm saying, for them to approve your loans or your grants. You know what I mean? So to me, when I see that, it's kind of like it was set up. They didn't start giving money to these small business Latino food courts or trucks and restaurants or whatever up until they used up all this other money first for the big corporates and the big places or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you say that, because even part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they're holding on to the money, they didn't let it out. And now nobody talking about where you can give it to white people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you look at where the money went. The
Mm-hmm.
money went to like Robert De Niro's multiple companies.
Yeah.
Right. The money went to a lot of the people who have been screaming for 4 years that Trump was a racist.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the money went. The money, a lot of the money too, gets allocated from the states. So the fact that you didn't get it was because your Democratic governor of Gavin Newsom and the Democratic mayor makes those decisions. Vote them out and see what it looks like after that. Because we don't have that proof here in LA. We haven't had it since Schwarzenegger for a little bit, and before that, 79. So like when we look at, we can hold these people, like they don't ever have to do anything. If all they have to do is show up and say racism, and we vote 9% Democrat, like that is this. I can agree with you. That is the rigged system, because they are rigging it. They consistently rig it. Joe Biden, the president today, changed the law so that crack cocaine was worse than coke, or than just regular cocaine, right? Which incarcerated more black people. You know what they do with that? They take that and then they ballot harvest those votes. So those black men that are locked up here in LA, up there in Oakland, in those majority blue states that then pass those legislations to lock people up, take the vote. So when we go, oh, it's systematic. Oh yeah, it is. It's a system that we keep 90% voting for. So until we shift that,
and that's what you educate.
And again, everything you can go, and then that's been like that consistent. And so even in this conversation, right? And I can tell just by the tone in his eyes, and it happens every time. That thing of like when initially, well, don't say the victim. Then eventually it starts breaking down to the things that you actually are experiencing in your life, and then we can talk like we just did.
Right.
So it starts with that feeling of like, well, you don't say it this way, and I'm
yeah.
And then we go,
And that's why
good point. Now we're talking about it.
Exactly.
And that's why I say I agree with you.
Yeah.
And it's like, why have that first part?
Because here's the truth. The truth of the matter is, not only as Americans, but as black folks, we are motion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what usually gets us to pay attention. I mean,
Mm.
there are people burning down parts of Chicago, Rochester, New York, where I was born, Kenosha, Wisconsin, because of what they quickly heard about a black man being stabbed, shot, or whatever. We burn stuff down. So we do react off emotion.
Yeah.
So I'm playing that game because that's how it wakes people up.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it's more pain. Like I don't even like. I know emotion. I mean, pain is an emotion, but there's a lot of pain that comes through living through different types of systemic racism, different types of, and not understanding why you're losing.
Yes.
And then when you understand the system, it's like, okay, I want to try to help educate
Well,
other
you know,
people on how to feel how I feel.
For example, my mom, I love her mom to death. She got a master's in nursing, right? Single mother, you know, taking care of 2 boys. And moms can always get it. Mom, shout out to mom. You know, everyone is doing the best they can, you know. Yeah. And we were talking about the gun violence in Chicago.
Mm.
And this is what it really got me to how deep the ideological brainwashing is. Because that's what it is. That's the sad part that I see because it is. I go to her, I go to gun problem in Chicago. Well, it has some of the, next to Boston, has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. Yet we see everyone getting shot and killed like that. She goes, well, that's because they're saying the guns are coming from India. I'm like, oh, okay, so they're not going to stop illegal gun running because it's $1 billion industry. Why make it harder for you as a citizen to get it? Well, you know, I mean, it's because it's illegal out there. If you make it illegal over there, then it's hard. I'm like, Mom, you don't understand. It doesn't stop the illegal gun running, which is $1 billion business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if they just make it illegal, I'm like, it's like that is also part of the ideology of the left, specifically the left, that is hard for to get a lot of people out because we're having a conversation where she's a scientist, she's master's in nursing. And you look at cause and effect, and she can't just say, good point, it's hard. I should be able to protect myself if they're not going to, right?
Mm.
Even telling her when all the stuff, she was living right in the South Side, 57, right when all the killings and all that area was going on. Called me one day, a 6-month-old shot in the stroller around the corner from her house. I was like, you got to move. She moved a month later.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there talking to her, and I go, you need to get a gun. You know what she said to me later? She called me, I left her, and she goes, you know, I was thinking, what if, like, I have a gun, and then the guy comes, and he takes it from me, and then he shoots me? And I call back, I go, what if you don't have it, and then he just kills you anyway?
Right.
And it's like, she goes, oh, yeah. And it's like, because I grew up with that whole thing. I grew up with guns are only bad guys and cops.
Same.
And to see that that's not the truth. There's so many of these little small. They start small, right?
I grew up in a gun on home, so
you have a different comfort with it, right?
Yeah.
And I know. I mean,
but I've actually, again, with this past year, I'm more open to the idea of having a gun. I think it's important. I think it's important to know how to use one for your protection.
At least feel it, you know.
Yes.
I'm a gun owner. I can help you.
So
get your drink.
Yeah, we can go. There's one over by the Costco in Birmingham.
Right. There's
love that
another
one.
too, right, in Birmingham.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh man, I have it written down.
Okay, we're gonna do it later on.
Like sadly, like this is one of those episodes that's like we're running out of time. And I was
wait,
like,
what?
I'm honestly like,
holy crap!
Really?
Oh my god!
I've really been making a point, only because I feel like that's the message that I have. It's really just like I've been out there fighting with Black America, and I feel the pain, and I know that's not the way to deal with it, right? And I know you don't do it through emotion. I know we're not here to coddle them.
Not just. We have to do it's both sides because we do have to like go, hey, this is happening,
right? And
I use the emotional.
I approach it from an American standpoint.
Yes,
and I feel like we are all being controlled, and like with the only problem I have with you is I feel like you only point out the Black people that are being controlled.
I mean, I
right?
think then you're
and
missing
I just think as America, we all should be
Yeah.
on the same page. And the things that you're saying are completely true.
Here's something I say all the time. The Black community since the 65 was used as a litmus test to everyone else.
Yeah.
The Black community, you hear that every day as a Black man, right? You hear that growing up.
Right.
Now you hear from a lesbian, every day as a lesbian, every day as a woman, every day as a gay man, every day as a book. So if we want to see what it looks like for the state to run the family, they use the Black community as a litmus test. That is what they want for the rest of the world and the rest of the country. And we have to go, man, no.
Right. And I want it to be just like you said, we the people. Right?
That's
It's we the people, not white or Black.
Exactly. And then you notice how much they push away the American part of it. That's the thing that I've had more. Right. Oh, America. Where else are people going to go?
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to leave where they live anyway.
Yeah.
love where you are. Start from the love.
Yeah.
And the love sometimes is like, yo, stop playing the victim because come over here. You can actually win. I know you can play the guitar. I know you can play drums. I know you can sing. I know you can shoot for the moon because you are black. You are brilliant. You are powerful. And stop listening to the people who already made it and looking back, because part of them staying up there is to keep you back down. That's part of what them being up there. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
What'd you have, Mo?
Black people were litmus steps for what exactly?
For socialism and the state running the family, as we've seen.
Okay.
So if you look around, you see now, look at like even the going in white communities, they're always talking about like how, well, now they passed this 3 years ago where kids in school at the age of 14 in high school can have medical autonomy. And everyone's like, oh, it's okay. And then now, as a parent trying to go in, you can be stopped by security. So they passed that 3 years ago to remove us from our family. So they want the state to run the family. Okay. It was easier to start with black people because of the welfare state.
Yeah.
And so they kept implementing that, which those two people.
So,
well, it was not really, because there was it was actually really hard for a lot of those women because culturally at the time, it was stick with that guy and vice versa. So a lot of people had to go, I got to vote for these Democrats now because they actually are supplying this. And okay, well, let's just say this. But even what they do with that, if you have a kid, you put the guy's name on it, the guy's not around. The welfare, the welfare that's on there, that goes on the guy. The guy doesn't pay it. He gets his license taken away, and then he gets put in jail. Whose policies are those? Those are very specific. Whose policies are those? At the same time that's happening, he's sitting there. The first 5 years, this is something we know. Men to connect with their kids, the first 5 years are crucial. So if you're not around them, and every month $500, $1,200 bill that comes up, that's all it looks like to you. You have no connection with the kid. A lot of those children, those child murders in Chicago, because my homie, who was a former gang member out here, he goes, I've seen it. They're doing the same thing. Those are child support murders. Yeah. So look at all those kids. And that's why I get so because it's like you're gonna tell me cop shit when we're killing each other because we don't have connection with our children.
Yeah.
And real quick, Anna has a question.
Okay.
It says, "What is the proof that Republicans would be the answer for a better system that?"
No, I mean, what's the proof? You haven't paid attention to everyone working, to everyone have more money in their pocket for the last 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, no, but I'm just saying that's a part of it. It's like, don't come too hard. You crazy? No. But it's like the proof, because what we were battling is, you remember, every aspect of how the information comes to us is run by a certain narrative, except for a few that have been demonized so much people don't even try to look over there. But if you see the history of this country, more people have never worked before until this guy was in. More black people have never worked before off of welfare, have never been. That's, you know what that does in a system and in a world that runs by a financial system, regardless if it's socialist or it runs by money.
Yeah, and in that world, a misunderstanding of knowing how the world works.
What I'm saying, no. Again, this is something by joining with in '65, and which is very important because it's different.
What's happening. Like you're following what you think the media is telling you to follow.
Exactly. We're following the media. So when I said what can a Republican do, it's like we had the example. We chose to listen to another narrative that said, well, it's normalizing stuff. It makes people feel this way, and it's like, look at the numbers.
Can you subscribe to the debate all the folks here?
Not all of them.
Right?
Not all of them. I mean, I sat there. I met Rick Grinnell last night, who was the acting director of national intelligence for Trump, and he was releasing a lot of classified documents. I mean, we had the one side for 2 years say Russia, under oath with their lawyer next to him was like, I have no proof. But they went on to wait. Yeah. We spent $2.7 million of American public. We not only did that, but what does that do to that's the guy running the show, regardless if we like him or not. What does that do to the psyche of your country? Like, that he's a treasonous traitor. They went out there and did that, even though with their lawyers they said something else. Those were the people we elected to go out there and then lie to us about the president of the United States. That then was helping us. That was putting more money in our pocket. Friends said we killed the abolitionists to go back to the slave master.
That's a part of their job. So it's like all of them. It depends on which position they're going to be on. So I subscribe to taking back the agency. Yes, and we the people vote in whoever is supporting where we're going.
I definitely agree that we should all, do our due diligence. I personally don't subscribe to either political party necessarily. I definitely like to see what they believe in, and sometimes like I said, I've agreed with Trump's the administration, the policy.
That's all that matters.
In the past, so and just like when Obama was there was things that I agreed with him, so on and so forth. But Yes, I do believe if I could say anything to anybody out there, it would be to do your due diligence as a citizen of this country, of knowing, educating yourself and educating your family on who's running for your local government. Because that's
Local
probably
is
the most
extremely important. If you're tired of what you see, get involved, guys.
Right.
I'm running for something, and I can't say right now, but it's been something that like I've in my speeches, like if you're sick of what's going on in your schools, run for your school board. If you're sick for what you're seeing in your city council, run for that. The difference is those on the left they tend to run more in that. We're sitting here in California. We're only just for district captains. We're only 50% capacity, so we don't even have a true representation of what conservative values look like in the state, right? So we don't have the other option. So a lot of times people didn't vote for either way but they just knew they were mad at Trump because that's what the message was.
I have a question. As a getting into politics yourself, do you feel any pressure from and I don't know if you represent the Republican or if you go to any wherever you would go, do you feel any pressure to subscribe to the idea to the
whatever seems
to
to
what
be
they
more,
seem to be
well, no,
labeled as?
because one thing as I've gotten out that what happened with being vocal, the first thing that happened was getting the hits from people I've known from the past, friends and family who I've known for decades that then canceled me, right? So what I held on to is my faith. And so anywhere I go, I don't care if it's the GOP, I don't care if it's the MAGA group, I don't care if it's the DNC. If it's not working with what I believe my values are from God, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not going to ride with them just because of that. Because we aren't supposed to trust government. We're not supposed to trust those parties. But I can still call out what I see in those parties, especially if the parties have been running the show for long enough. So if a Republican came in tomorrow and here in California as governor, and he started the homelessness went up and all that, you'd be damn. I'll be out there. What the hell is going on? Like it doesn't matter because those guys don't technically owe us anything, right? It's like I always say, if you're only giving somebody $25 and then this company give them $2,500 or $250,000, who do you think you're voting?
Well, you can't make everybody happy. So
Right.
I mean, at some point, you got to go what's best for the country.
What's best for the country, which I think is always for me, what I look at is wrapped up in Judeo-Christian values, and God value, which is family, faith, and community.
Yeah, and so we're getting to the nitty gritty of that. Fuel, you got anything else?
No, I'm good.
We'll try to close this out.
It was like God. It's like God. And this is honestly, right? I don't know if you ever got the film, but this is what I missed because this is what happens in the barbershop.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's the kind of stuff. And this is something
supposed to be,
right? It was something that I always noticed, even growing up in Evanston, is like with this cancel culture we see right now, which I was talking to you about it. Cancel culture stops us from even entertaining the thought. So I'm not just canceled; your thought on it is canceled because if it goes, oh no, that was the guy who, right? And in what I noticed in the barbershop, what I noticed when I went back home to Liberia, we can get after it. We can go after it, like, all right, homie, I'll see you later. Hey man, what you doing? So it's like that's something that is intrinsically in the Black community that I have noticed that we can chop it up hardcore for the most part and be like, and move away. We need Black men are going to save this country, and we need to step up and be men again and go back and take it. And we can't sit there and wait for them to go, well, you're okay. And no, go take it. If it works best for your family, that's what you do. If it works best for your family, that's what you do. You don't do something they say over there because it's systematic. No, do your shit.
But that's the message, right?
That's just ultimate.
That's the message.
Everyone. And that's
Almost.
you don't just cut me off.
I'm the only woman up in here, and I'm a barbershop, all right?
She's gonna do my face later. I'll do the same back.
But not if I had any words for any of you guys, I think you guys agree on a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's just the wording y'all may disagree on, the connotation of certain words.
Why you so loud?
Wrapping things up, I respect every single person at that table.
Yes.
You guys all have phenomenal perspectives that are all agreeable and that are all pushing the narrative of go out and get it. Go out and get after it.
Yes.
So
and if you don't like what you see, get to work.
get to it. Yeah. Stop saying, oh no, it's them. Stop blaming other people for your problems.
Yes.
Take accountability. You guys are all preaching accountability, and I just respect this conversation you guys had. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure over here watching you guys give my little commentary, man.
Yeah.
Saying they both be
Can I come back?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm like, I feel like this is just.
I was like, I didn't even get into nothing.
Jamie spent the whole episode trying to get him to be nice.
Listen,
Hey, but I am nice. What do you mean?
No, I want to be clear. I am not trying to get him to be nice.
I am nice. Hey, man, I'm a nice guy.
I understand everything that you're saying is like, there's been an attack on Black America, right? And instead of making them feel like they're being a victim, I honestly just feel more about like, let's educate them and pull them up and show them how to pull themselves up. Because it's a lot of people who are lost.
Well, you know what? Watch my page and you will see. It's more than just what do you go through.
Follow that.
You can follow Siaka _Massaquoi and you put it up, right?
Yeah.
And then also Chief Americano. I'm super shadow banned, so you have to put it all in there because the state is actually active. Hey, what are you gonna do?
He's like, man, out there.
Just another day.
I'm just thinking, like, how do you spell either one of those?
Oh. Y'all can't see him. Y'all can't see, but he's like this. He's like.
Yeah.
He's like,
my final thought is, well, I have really enjoyed our conversation. I am one for debate. I love a good debate. I'm open to all these conversations. As long as we're progressing and we're all and I do agree that we're all in agreement that we want to better our communities and better our relations within this country and all that. So I would say to everyone else that if you watch this show, if you're not watching live right now and you're watching in the future, like just take the meat and leave the bones. Take the positivity. Take the inspiration to better yourself, which is what this show is about. This show is about offering different perspectives and information that you may not have always had, so that you can take that and empower yourself and go on and do amazing things for yourself and your family. So I have appreciated so much. Mr. Siaka, thank you.
She said look at mine when you asked me like I was dating. First of all, she was the one asked about dating.
I did ask about it. It's for y'all.
Yeah. It's for her.
She did make a little mention. You coming in?
I did. I was like, oh, he'll sit next to me.
Yeah, I'll sit next to her. It's the hair. That does it too. The hair threw it off.
But yeah, I do appreciate, and I love a good debate. JD, you held it down.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, like that's what I brought him here for, to have an open conversation. It wasn't to change your views. It was just, I honestly I feel like we're all in this together, right? And no matter what side you're on, it's not one person's fault, right? We all have to take accountability. There are people, we're all being lied to.
Yeah.
And I'm all about educating everybody and empowering everybody, and not like, and understanding that it is a big daddy above us that's really making us all fight. We can all just come together.
There's a big daddy above us, but there's a father above that.
Yeah. Right? And honestly, this country is ours, and you have the power to do anything, and that's that's what I'm all about. So, right?
Yeah.
All right. So next week we got a lot of great things coming up. I don't know if we can get them next week. Let's wait. I think let's let them wait. Thank you, Siaka, for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I feel like we really only touched the surface.
Oh, I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
I'm not letting you talk about my black people like that.
My black people too. What the heck?
I'm blocking everybody out on the next one, and we just gonna have it for 2 hours. No.
I was gonna say, be nicer. I'm like, I am nice.
Shout out to Fuel and Almost for stopping by today.
Yes, thank you, Fuel. Thank you, Almost.
Where's our?
Thank you.